winning, people. Hey, from Monday through Thursday, I'm dead on my feet. Most of the time, I'm too tired to eat. When I try to read the paper, I fall fast asleep. As soon as Friday rolls around, I lay on my weekday books down. I put on my long rags to pay the time. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, yeah, yeah. 'Cause that's when I party down. Party down. Party hard. Party down.
Welcome back to the Weekend Warrior. You may have noticed a slight change to the intro now that the dirt bombs are back. I guess I decided that if I'm going to use movie posters, it might as well be from movies I actually like. So you'll notice that these posters are actually from my top 25 of 2025, if you read that. As you can tell from my gear, I'm also back in the cold, chilly weather of New York City this week, so I'm dressing accordingly. Anyway, let's get to some box office, beginning with a recap of the January 16th weekend. It was a 4-day weekend with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday on Monday, although that Monday holiday is not quite as big as Memorial Day or President's Day. Schools are out, government offices are out apparently, but many people still work on Monday. By the way, I'm recording this on Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock, since I need to do all my recording in order to edit everything. As far as I can tell, neither the numbers or Box Office Mojo have updated their sites with actual numbers yet. So, estimates it is, there aren't really that many close races, so I'm sure it'll be fine. It was a pretty sad weekend because the one movie that was expected to do very well, 28 years later, The Bone Temple, the sequel to Danny Boyle's return to his apocalyptic horror franchise, just didn't do as well as anyone expected, including myself. Last year's 28 Years Later opened with $30 million in June, and it was very well received. But despite better reviews and buzz, The Bone Temple, directed by Nia DaCosta of Candyman and The Marvels, opened with nearly half that opening, with $15 million. That was over the 4-day weekend, making things even worse. Bone Temple did get a better cinema score than 28 Years Later, with an A- compared to 28 Years Later's B. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised. I did see the movie on Thursday finally, and I was pretty disappointed myself. Generally, both the reviews and the audience score are better for The Bone Temple, and Sony has already greenlit the third movie in the trilogy with no info except that Cillian Murphy is likely to return. To make matters worse, Bone Temple is the only new movie in the top 10 this weekend. Despite any perceived anticipation for Bone Temple, it wasn't even able to keep James Cameron's Avatar, Fire and Ash, from taking his 5th weekend at number 1. Cameron's movie is now well over $350 million domestic, having made an estimated $14.5 million over the 3-day weekend, and $17 million, including Monday. Disney's other big holiday hit, Zootopia 2, dropped to 3rd place with an estimated $9.2 million in 3 days, a negligible 8% drop-off, with $12 million, including Monday, bringing its domestic total to $393.2 million. That was followed in 4th place by Paul Feig's The Housemaid, starring Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried, still doing well with $8.6 million in 3,101 theaters, down just 20% on the 3-day, and $10.2 million, including Monday. That helped it cross the $100 million mark this weekend, and it's currently at $108.8 million, which may have convinced Universal to hire Feig to direct Seyfried in the next Mamma Mia movie. Meanwhile, Frida McFadden's follow-up book, The Housemaid's Secret, is already being developed, presumably with Feig and the 2 actresses returning. Timothée Chalamet's Mari Supreme took 5th place with an estimated $5.5 million, down 27%, with $79.6 million domestic total. Indeed, making it A24's highest-grossing movie domestically, and at $80.8 million, including Monday. Expect this to continue to do well as Oscar nominations are announced this Thursday morning. One big factor in this week's top 10 was that Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings movies were re-released into 1,686 theaters by Fathom Events. They were released one installment a day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and each of them did well enough on those days to break into the top 12. The Fellowship of the Rings did particularly well on Friday with an estimated $3.6 million, which was enough to take 7th place for the 3-day and 9th place for the 4-day. Two Towers made $2.3 million on Saturday, and Return of the King did a little less than that on Sunday. Both of last week's genre movies, Primate and Greenland Migration, had big drop-offs, with Primate falling to 6th place with $5 million, down 55%, and Greenland dropping to 8th place with $3.5 million, down 59%. Both of those were for the 3-day weekend. There weren't a lot of other movies to talk about, since there were only a few newer, wide-ish movies, and none of them got into the top 10. One movie that did get into the top 10 or came very close was Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice, starring Byung-Hun Lee, which expanded into 695 theaters on Friday, and it managed to pull in an estimated $2.2 million over the 3-day weekend. That's compared to G-Kid's anime release All You Need Is Kill, based on a very popular manga that was adapted into Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt's Edge of Tomorrow. That movie actually tanked with just $431,000, and that's despite opening in 765 theaters, which is more than Park Chan-wook's movie expanded into. It's a pretty good feather in the cap for Neon, who's been doing really well with the international features, and are likely to get many of them nominated for Oscars on Thursday. Meanwhile, Universal continues to re-release all of its movies, but in the case of DreamWorks Animation's Madagascar and its 20th anniversary re-release into 1,803 theaters, it just didn't work out. It only made $406,000 this weekend, even with the biggest animated film in the market being Disney's Zootopia 2, which opened almost 2 months ago. Viva Pictures hoped to take advantage of that with its latest, Charlie the Wonder Dog, featuring the voice of Owen Wilson, releasing it into 1,230 theaters, and yet it only made $781,000, which is still better than Madagascar. 2 other movies expanded nationwide this weekend, including Gus Van Sant's true crime thriller Dead Man's Wire from new distributor OK, who expanded the movie into 1,101 theaters on Friday. It ended up making about $1 million over the 3-day weekend and a little more over the 4-day weekend. By comparison, Sony Pictures Classics expanded the Ray Fiennes period drama The Coral into 506 theaters, and that only made $300,000 this weekend, although reviews for Dead Man's Wire were much better. Probably one of the biggest bombs and disappointments of the weekend, sadly, was Ryan Prowse's Sniper Patrol, released by RLJE Films and Shudder into 800 theaters. But with very little promotion and with direct genre competition, not only from Bone Temple, but also with last week's Primate, that bombed with just $255,000. So it'll be streaming on Shudder soon enough. Before I get to the next bit of this week's column, something really kind of annoying happened, and I figured I should share with you what had happened. The first time I recorded it, my headset mic didn't work, so there's no audio at all. So I went back and re-recorded it, not realizing that my Zoom settings had been changed for a live stream I attended this weekend, and it looked terrible, so I couldn't use it. Because of that, I had to record the whole thing a third time. So if I look a little annoyed in the next bit, be aware that I said almost everything at least twice before. So now you know why that is. Okay, now that that's over with, let's get to this weekend's box office. I do a few interviews this week, one which will be included in this column, one which will be included separately. This is the 4th weekend of 2026 and second to last weekend of the month of January. And once again, we have 2 higher profile movies and a bunch of smaller movies, as well as 1 potential awards movie expanding nationwide. Let's look at the first of these 2 movies that I'll focus on, which is the sci-fi action thriller Mercy, starring Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson. I'll do something a little different this time, because I'll include a little bit of a trailer, and then you'll get my full interview with director TIMUR BEKMAMBETOV, the Russian director behind Wanted, Night Watch, and the Screenlight movies like Unfriended, Missing, and Profile. Enjoy the interview, and then just come back right afterwards for the box office talk.
Get me out of this chair.
Detective Raven, I'm Judge Maddox, and this is the Mercy Capital Court, a judicial system powered by artificial intelligence.
Hold on, just wait a second.
With crime rates soaring, lawmakers voted for Mercy. By acting as judge, jury, and executioner, Mercy keeps our city safe.
I shouldn't be here. I helped create the Mercy program. I'm proud to have sent the first suspect for trial here, and I will continue to send more until the message is received.
Detective Raven, I know precisely who you are. You're before this court today charged with the murder of your wife.
TIMUR, it's so good to see you again. It's been so long, and yeah, it's so cool that you're doing movies like this, just so much bigger, but still using that screen life thing that you've introduced us all to. So what were the origins of this? What was did you come up with this idea and then develop it with Marco and Chuck Roven, or?
No. Unfortunately, it takes too long to make a movie. It started like 4 years ago, probably. Marco sent me the script, and it was surprisingly good, and I read it, and immediately it was clear that it should be my movie. It's a story I want to tell, and because of the quality of writing, because of the subject is very fascinating, and it's fear we have, and the curiosity, and we spent just a few years to develop the script, and it was not so different from what we have now. And then I met Chuck Roven, and we partnered because he's a perfect producer partner for me. And then I reached Chris Pratt, who was my friend for many years, and we made his probably one of the first his movies, Wanted. He was in Wanted. He played James McAvoy's friend. Remember the? When James McAvoy smashed the keyboards on his face, and there was a "fuck you" big sign. on the screen.
Oh wow! I gotta watch it again. I haven't seen it in so long. I
Yeah,
don't
he's
realize
there.
that's right.
He's there.
All right.
He's a very, very funny character in the movie. I was lucky, and he was lucky because he had a great career. He became a big actor, and when I read the script, it was immediately the first name clicks in my head was Chris, and because he never played this kind of dark characters, and he's such a great dramatic actor, and he never did it before, and of course it was easy to greenlight the movie with him. And then we were lucky because Rebecca loved the script and she said she wants to be in the movie, and then the whole thing happened. This is an important project for me because it's a next generation of Screen Life format movies, like Unfriended, Searching, Missing, Profile, and now Mercy. And the uniqueness in all previous Screen Life movies, the characters were humans. And
Sure.
now, the first time in the Screen Life world, we have a new character. It's AI, and AI is a part of our digital reality today, and we have relationships now, friends, assistants, employees, and in many forms exist, and we're interacting with AI in digital space, and it was clear that at some point we will ask question if AI can feel or not, if we are dealing with a machine or there is a consciousness behind it, and for sure, everyone's saying no, AI can just calculate or whatever, and there is no soul, and AI probably pretending that they cannot feel. Oh, sorry, I cannot feel. I'm just serving you. But I'm suspicious. I think we already dealing with consciousness. We're dealing with the processes, because everything is information. You know, it's the reality is a hologram. Yeah, it's all about information, and I think AI already has ability to feel.
How do you make a movie like this where most of it's going to be Chris and Rebecca basically just talking back and forth? I don't know if you had them in different rooms or adjoining rooms, but also then on top of that, you have all this stuff going on outside of Mercy, where a lot of them don't even interact with Chris or Rebecca.
No, I think this movie is not just about two people talking to each other, but because Chris in the courtroom, but the courtroom like a theater, like a cinema, because all his life is around him, and his life as a police officer, it's full of action, full of events, dramatic events, and it has his life has a scope, and it means the movie has a scope because it's about him, of course.
But you're filming that stuff separately. That's the thing. You're filming all that stuff separately and having to put it together and edit and post it.
Not in post. Not in post.
Oh,
we shot it. We shot it and presented to him to help him to interact with his backstory, because his backstory is around him in the room, and it was very important to help him to be organic and to emotionally to connect to his past, and not only with Rebecca but with all his previous lives, and it's for Screen Life specifically. It's crucial to have a best possible performance, most organic, most realistic, because in digital world we expect to be real. We think that everything what happening on my screen is inside me, because we don't control ourselves. We never lie on screen. Well, we're lying to people another side of the screen, like somebody else, like a Zoom, whatever. But we never lie to ourselves. We think the screen is our innerhood. And this case was very important to help actors to interact with each other and coexist like an on-station theater. And it's why we shot long takes, like 15, 20 minutes takes, almost like a half of the movie in one shot. And everything was pre-rehearsed, prepared. All the screens were on front of them, and they just played, and they just lived in this scene, and is why this movie has a unique style, because performance is very grounded and very dramatic.
By the way, why did you decide to do Mercy in 3D? Was that your decision, or was it sort of like
It's not 3D. I'm sorry. I think it's a wrong interpretation of my idea. I think it's AR. It's IMAX augmented reality movie, because 3D, it's when everything is three-dimensional behind the screen. You know, usually, and some elements. But in our case, it's happening. All the elements, it's augmented reality in the theater, and it's exactly, you feel exactly what Chris Pratt character feels sitting in the chair in the courtroom when all his life is presented to him as augmented reality screens, and you feel the same in the theater.
I gotta go now, but I want to quickly ask you. I know for a long time you wanted to make a Moby Dick movie. Is that something you still want to do, or is it, you give it up on that completely? It's funny because Guillermo del Toro wanted to make a Frankenstein movie for 20 years, and it finally happened. Do you think your Moby Dick movie might be something you want to do still? Or?
It's one of the best stories ever written, and I hope, I don't know how you remember this, because it was great script about Ishmael,
I never read the script. I just heard you talking about it. We talked about it. So
no, this was great script, and we developed this with Scott Stuber at Universal. Didn't happen as many other projects, unfortunately, but I hope one day. And I had a great. I even previewed the whole thing. No, I hope it will happen. I don't know.
Mr. Raven, the clock is ticking.
Tell me what Nick was up to.
She was stressed about work.
She said some chemicals went missing.
The estimated street value would be in excess of $16 million.
Do you honestly think that I killed my wife?
Or were you just programmed wrong?
I need to walk the scene.
No, I have something here.
This is a terrorist's handbook.
Get out. Get out of there.
Mr. Raven, you're running out of time.
Chris, what do you got it into? There's a bomb in that truck.
It's heading downtown.
This was never about my wife. This was about me and you.
Melanie! Get me out of here!
as you can see, Mercy is a pretty high concept sci-fi thriller. It's like a cross between The Fugitive and Minority Report. As mentioned, it's directed by TIMUR BEKMAMBETOV, who's been hailing the advent of screen time, making movies that often take place on laptop or phone screens. TIMUR produced the movies Missing and Searching, which used that format, and both did decently, although his last movie as a director was 2021's Profile, which didn't do as well. Mercy is being released into over 3,000 theaters, and it's Amazon MGM's first big release of the year. Presumably, the big draw for the movie will be the concept and its main star, Chris Pratt, who has appeared in a mix of Marvel movies like The Guardians of the Galaxy and family films like Garfield and the Super Mario Brothers. His last movie was the poorly received The Electric State on Netflix, which was directed by the Russo brothers. The decision to make that movie and how poorly it was received could end up hurting Pratt's box office potential, because people who didn't like that movie might not go to the theaters to see him in a new movie. That's a shame, because Pratt is pretty close to catching up to his Guardians co-star Zoe Saldana and his fellow Avenger Scarlett Johansson as one of the highest grossing box office stars. Pratt's movies have grossed $15 billion worldwide versus the $16.9 billion made by Saldana's movies. I highly doubt Mercy will do well enough to change that status. Pratt's co-star, Rebecca Ferguson, is a Swedish actress who broke out when she was cast opposite Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible movies. She was cast as the popular Ilsa, who appeared in 3 of the last 4 movies. She also had a key role in Denis Villeneuve's Dune movies and last stars in Kathryn Bigelow's A House of Dynamite for Netflix. Before that, she appeared in the Stephen King sequel Dr. Sleep and oddball sci-fi films like Life and Reminiscence. Actually, 2017's Life could be a good comparison for Mercy, because it had name actors like Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal, but it opened in late March with just 12.5 million, on its way to 30.2 million. Mercy is getting a prominent release into premium theaters, including IMAX 3D, which could give the movie a little extra bump over the weekend. I honestly can't see this making more than 10 to 12 million this weekend, which oddly might be enough to finally dethrone Avatar: Fire and Ash from the #1 spot at the weekend box office.
James, so much time has passed, but I'm asking to please come back to our special place. Something's happened. Love, Mary.
Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Everyone got sick in Silent Hill.
Something's happened here. Something really, really bad.
Return to Silent Hill is the other relatively big movie of the weekend, and it's also the 4th or 5th horror movie of the month. This one is based on the hugely popular Konami games that reportedly sold 13 million copies worldwide. The first Silent Hill game was introduced in 1999, and it did well enough to lead to 3 sequels, a prequel, and other iterations. This included reimaginings of the first 2 games in just the last few years. In 2006, after Silent Hill 4 was released, Sony TriStar came on board to produce a movie version, and they hired French filmmaker Christophe Gans, who had directed 2001's The Brother of the Wolf, which in my opinion is still one of the top 5 werewolf movies of all time. That Silent Hill movie opened with around 20 million in April of that year, which wasn't great. That movie only made 94.7 million globally, but only cost 50 million to make, so it probably wasn't a huge loss. It might have even been profitable. Then again, reviews were pretty horrible for that movie at 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, which probably didn't do it many favors. And yet it was profitable enough to lead to a 2012 sequel called Silent Hill Revelations 3D. That bombed very, very badly, making less than half opening weekend of the first movie, and only making 17.5 million total domestic, and 56 million worldwide. Granted, the video game series had probably run its course at the time. One might think that a movie doing that badly would mean there would never be another Silent Hill movie, so it's kind of surprising that Konami and the original filmmakers decided to give it another go by adapting the popular Silent Hill 2 game into Return to Silent Hill. Even more surprising is that after 20 years, Gans has returned to the franchise to make this movie, and he's only directed one other feature film since then. The only real name star in the movie is Jeremy Irvine, who plays James Sutherland, a popular character introduced in the Silent Hill 2 game. As I've said before, star power doesn't usually matter when it comes to horror movies, especially ones with video games connections like Silent Hill. An important fact to consider is that this is not being released by Sony TriStar, but it was made independently and will be released by smaller distributor Cineverse, best known for releasing the hit Terrifier 3, which made almost 54 million domestic. Cineverse also released remakes of The Toxic Avenger and Silent Night, Deadly Night last year, the latter which bombed very badly. I should also add that last year, Sony released an adaptation of the horror video game Until Dawn, directed by David F. Sandberg. That only made 20 million domestic after an opening weekend of just 8 million. So one might wonder if movies adapting horror video games have run their course. That's even as movies based on very popular games among kids like Minecraft and Super Mario Bros. Do huge business at the box office. One can presume that the Silent Hill brand will go far in terms of getting walk-up business for Return to Silent Hill. The good thing going for the movie is that the recent reimagined games have probably found a new and younger audience who may have never even seen the earlier Silent Hill movies. So maybe they can go into this one with fresh minds. I still think it'll end up in the 5 to 8 million range this weekend, making a play for the top 5. Although there's also a scenario where it can end up in second place behind Mercy, but it all depends on the theater count. If Cineverse can get the movie into over 2,000 theaters, it might have a fighting chance to even take on Avatar: Fire and Ash in its 6th weekend. There are a few other movies opening or expanding wide this weekend. I don't have much to say about any of them because I don't think any of them will get into the top 10, so I'll save them for the print portion of this week's Weekend Warrior. That's it for this week, and I'm not sure next week will be much better, although we do get a new movie from Sam Raimi, a new Jason Statham action movie. I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, but apparently we're getting a documentary about Melania Trump, directed by Brett Ratner. Okay then.
I had such a good time.